Have you ever wondered why some sentences sound meaningful and complete while others seem empty or make no sense at all? The answer lies in one small but powerful word group: verbs. A verb is a word that expresses an action, a condition, ownership, an idea, a process, an occurrence, or a state of being. Verbs are the backbone of every sentence. Without them, words would simply sit together without making any sense. It tells us what the subject is doing or what is happening to it. For example, in the sentence, "The girl sings beautifully," the word sings is the verb, showing what the girl is doing. Likewise, in the sentence, "Amma dances gracefully," the word dances is the verb, showing the action performed by Amma. Verbs are essential. They provide structure and meaning to sentences. As we've realized, they connect the subject to the action or condition and help in forming complete thoughts. Without verbs, we cannot express time, actions, conditions, ideas, feelings, or existence. For instance, verbs help us know when something happens, whether it is in the past, present, or future. They also assist in showing whether an action is still continuing or has been completed. Clearly, verbs are not only functional but also expressive, making communication possible and meaningful. Moving forward, verbs come in various forms and categories. Although there are many types, such as regular and irregular verbs, action or dynamic verbs and stative verbs, linking verbs, auxiliary or helping verbs, transitive and intransitive verbs, finite and non-finite verbs, and modal verbs. Our focus in this lesson will be on regular and irregular verbs, which form the foundation for understanding the others. To begin with, regular verbs are those that follow a consistent pattern when changing from one tense to another. Specifically, when forming the past tense or past participle, these verbs simply add ed or d to their base forms. For example, the verb play becomes played, work becomes worked, dance becomes danced, and so on. Because of their predictable pattern, these verbs are easy to learn and use. Consider the sentence, "The students listened attentively." Here, listened is the regular past tense form of listen. These past tenses, also past participles, were derived following a simple, predictable pattern, so they're called regular. Let's look at how they are used in sentences below. In contrast, irregular verbs do not follow a fixed rule or pattern when forming their past tense or past participle as the regular verbs do. Instead of simply adding ed, they may change their form entirely or partially. In fact, changes must be memorized individually. In deriving their past tenses, for instance, go becomes went, eat becomes ate, and see becomes saw. Also, when deriving their past participles, go becomes gone, eat becomes eaten, and see becomes seen. These verbs are called irregular because their simple past and past participle forms are unpredictable. For example, in the sentence, "He drank the water quickly," the verb drank is the irregular past tense of drink, which is the base or infinitive form. Let's look at how they are used in sentences below. Moreover, both regular and irregular verbs can appear in different forms depending on tense and aspect. Regular verbs generally have four forms: the base or infinitive form, present participle, which ends in ing, the simple past tense, and the past participle forms. Taking the verb work as an example, its present participle is working, its simple past tense is worked, and its past participle is also worked. You must remember that for regular verbs, unlike the irregular ones, always the simple past tense and past participles remain the same. On the other hand, irregular verbs often vary in structure. For instance, go changes to went and gone, while write changes to wrote and written for their simple past and past participles respectively. These forms are essential in constructing various tenses in English. To illustrate, let us consider how these verbs function in sentences. In the present tense, one might say, I walk to school every day. In the past tense, it becomes, I walked to school yesterday, or probably last week. For an irregular verb, the present tense, I eat rice, changes to I ate rice in the past tense. For the past participle form, which needs an auxiliary verb to make sense, we may have, I have eaten the rice. These examples demonstrate that verbs not only indicate actions but also show time and continuity. In addition, it is important to note that both regular and irregular verbs have subtypes or variations. Some regular verbs change slightly in spelling. For instance, try changes to tried by changing the Y to I before adding the ED. Plan changes to planned by doubling the N before adding ED. Irregular verbs, on the other hand, can be divided into three groups. 1. Those that do not change at all. For example, cut will still remain cut. Similar verbs include set, hit, and burst. 2. Those that change the vowel sound. For example, sit changes to sat, swim changes to swam, sink changes to sank, drink changes to drank, etc. 3. Those that change completely. For example, go changes to went, eat changes to ate, see changes to saw, make changes to made, find changes to found, catch changes to caught, buy changes to bought, etc. Understanding these patterns helps you master verb forms more quickly. In conclusion, verbs are indispensable elements of language that express actions, states, or occurrences. They give life and meaning to sentences by connecting the subject with what it does or experiences. Regular verbs follow predictable rules by adding ed or d to form their past tense and past participles, while irregular verbs may change form entirely without a fixed pattern. Understanding the difference between these two types is fundamental to mastering English tenses. As we proceed in future lessons, we will explore other types of verbs, such as action verbs, linking verbs, and modal verbs to deepen our understanding of how verbs function in language. To practice and strengthen understanding, try and identify the verbs and indicate whether they are regular or irregular in the following sentences.